Okay, is the seconds ticking?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh my. Alright, 1, 2, 3, go. Hello, I'm Tim Durham with Durham's Bee Farm in Walls, Mississippi. I get pleasure out of hearing that I help somebody learn about bees or enjoy bees. My opinions and what I call facts can have exceptions at times, and believe me, beekeepers have different opinions, and many times something can be done different ways and accomplish the same thing. But by all means, enjoy your bees. That's number one. Now, in this video, I'm answering questions that beekeepers sent in, and I typed up the questions. My answer, I do not script my answers, so if I misspeak, I hope I don't. The top 3 questions are on our blog site on the internet, and I'll give you that. www.beekeepingtutorials.com, and you can go there, and it's real simple. You can ask a question, and I'll answer them promptly, just like I do on YouTube. So again, the blog is on the website www.beekeepingtutorials.com, and beekeeping tutorials is one word.com. Number 1, my hive only has the queen that he had purchased a package during the summer, and a small handful of bees. There are no eggs, no cat brood, just the queen, a few bees, and some eggs, and he wonders if the eggs are viable since it's turned off a little cool. Since winter is coming, is there anything I can do to save this tiny cluster and queen? To give you a short answer, a long answer would be very long, but to give you a short answer, you could put 2 frames of cat brood with some bees in there, and you would have to do that in a proper way, and I think I'm going to cover that down here in another question. And then you would have to overwinter that colony on top of another colony, and I will cover that, but it can be done. Number 2, should I use pollen patties? If you live in an area like we do, we're in the Memphis, we're in North Mississippi. I always say upstate Mississippi, like those folks in New York do. That sounds more highfalutin, and but we're a mile from Memphis, to give you an idea. We have a lot of pollen, so we've never used pollen patties. If you live somewhere, and look now, Arizona, don't get your feelings hurt now, but if you live in Arizona and you don't have much pollen, then maybe the pollen patties would work. But if it makes you feel good, do it. Enjoy your bees. Now, I do think that hive beetles can use such as pollen patties to burrow in it and use that for a media to exist, so you might keep that in mind. What size of a hive can I have in an apartment? This kind of a funny one, but you can have a hive on top of a building 20 stories up, 10 stories up. You can have a hive on your patio, provided your neighbors on both sides they don't get cranky about it, you know, and go to fussing. But you can do that. Number 4, Theo asked me, do you overwinter without an upper entrance or upper ventilation? Why is it important to dress up burr comb on the bottom frames of the bottom board, and why is it so important to dress up the frames in general. In the videos I refer to cutting the burr comb off by dressing them up. So his first question, do you overwinter without an upper entrance or upper ventilation? Now keep in mind, when y'all send a question, I send your name and what state you're in or country you're in. Up north, I think it's mandatory that they have an upper entrance because the snow will block the lower entrance. Down here in the south, we don't have to have an upper entrance, but by all means, up north or down south, have ventilation. That is very, very important. If you don't have ventilation, so the moisture, the bees, in their process, they generate warm moisture, and the moisture must escape. If it doesn't, over a period of years, it will rot the frames. So ventilation is very, very important. Now his question about, Theo's question about cutting the burr comb off. The reason you should, every time you go into a hive, maybe on the right side, the left side, time will permit, maybe on the left side, start going through your hive on the left side, and when you take a frame out, that burr comb, dress it up, cut it off, and let's say you go in there 4 or 5 frames deep, and you see there's brood and eggs, and you're satisfied, and you want to put them back. All right, next time you go into the hive, go in from the other side and do the same thing. If you don't keep this burr comb cut out or dressed up, that hive will get to where you cannot get the frames out very easily. It will be difficult to get them out, and that will, if you can get the frames out easily, so to speak, then it makes for more fun beekeeping. So now he wanted to know, why is it important to cut the burr comb off the bottom frame? Let me start over. Why is it important to cut the burr comb off of the brood frame in the bottom box? And the reason he's asking that is from the bottom box brood frames, that bottom frame, there's a distance, there's clearance there. And so why do you have to cut that off? You need to rotate your brood bodies, say in the springtime, when the queen is actively laying. You need to rotate those brood bodies, say, once a month. And if that bottom brood chamber has burr comb hanging down on the bottom of it, then when you rotate them, it's going to be a mess. You're going to squash, that burr comb is going to squash bees. Plus, if you keep that burr comb cut off, then the bees don't waste energy and resources by continuing to build that burr comb. All right, number 5, Robert Pryor, he asked, could you have split your hive using queen cells? And he must have watched a video where I was installing a new queen. And the answer is positively yes. If you go into a hive and you have a lot of queen cells, that's a good way of keeping them from swarming, is depending on how many bees there are in that hive, but you could split that hive 2, 3, 4 ways using the queen cells. And then after those new queens have emerged and start laying, then you can merge that hive back together, and that's going to be a lot of bees. And they will not have swarmed on you, and so you're going to have a lot of bees, and now you put them back together and they can make potentially make a real nice honey crop. Number 6, Melanie McDonald bee pollen is tasty. I think it tastes nutty. It's good. Some people like bee pollen. Some people don't. Some people like Pepsi. Some people like Coke. So we like different foods. So if you don't particularly like bee pollen, then you can put it in your mouth, and you can chase it down with buttermilk. I love buttermilk, but you can chase it down with orange juice or something but I like the taste of bee pollen. Now it's unique. If you haven't tasted it, you haven't tasted anything like pollen. All right. Number 7. Forgive me, Nat Surrog. Nat Surrog, he wrote, "What is the least amount of honey you leave on your bees for winter?" Now, this depends on the area of the United States you're in, our country. Here where we are, the top brood chamber, if the deep box top brood chamber is full, all 10 frames are full, or 9 frames, it's going to hold about 50 pounds of honey, and that's plenty in this area. Up north, they need more. Up north, they wrap their bees in insulation, but here in our part of the country, you do not want to wrap them, because you want the sun to hit that box on pretty days, and where some of them can come out and defecate. Here again, my opinion. Number 8, Dave C for Charlie. Have you ever open feed your bees? Do you think that would generate robbing? In other words, he wants to know, do you open feed your bees? Let's say you got some beehives and you get a barrel or a large container and you put sugar syrup in it, so you're feeding them in the open. And your commercial people do that, and you have to put sticks and stuff on top of the container, on top of the sugar syrup, so they can light on it and not drown. The adverse effect of that is that you're going to feed all the neighborhood bees as well. And on one of my videos, I show the very best, in my opinion, the very, very best feeder. I should do a video on just feeders alone. The very best feeder is take a piece of plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, cut it the dimensions of your beehive, cut you a circle in there where a canning jar, a fruit canning jar, can fit in there and not fall through, and that is the very best. And you can do 1 hoe, 4 hoes. I think it'll hold 6, but that is absolutely the very best for several reasons. Number 9, Claire P. wrote, why sit in front of the entrance? Doesn't that always annoy the bees? I've made some videos, and I place my chair where my beehive is in the background, and I do that. You know, we like bees, and does it annoy them? Our bees don't, and honest to goodness, I don't know. I don't know why they sting some people and some people they don't. There's a lot about beekeeping we don't know. There's a lot about beekeeping I think a lot of people don't know. Now they'll guess, but they don't know. You know, you've always heard that a dog can tell if you're afraid of them. I don't know if a bee is that way or not, but now if I get a mean hive, if I go through a hive and it became mean, and they can do that, then I'll get a brick and I'll stand it upon end. Now the next time I go through that bee yard and that hive, I've got it marked because I have a brick standing up on it. And if they're mean again, then I'm going to replace that queen. I don't tolerate a mean queen because that takes the fun out of it. So, all right, number 10, Featherbuck Farms, he wrote, first year beekeeping, and I was told to start feeding the bees in August, but I have a field full of goldenrod, so I didn't start until the last week of September. When should I stop? They haven't filled the initial frames completely. I'm planning to leave any honey on them for winter. I'm in North Georgia. Well, bless your heart. In the South, we say bless your heart. And if they've got 8 frames of honey or sugar syrup, 10 for sure. Actually, if they've got 7 frames or 6 frames of full honey or sugar syrup in the top brood chamber, I believe they'll make it. And you need to check your bees. Get in the habit of if you pick the hive from behind the hive, pick it up 4 times a year, every season. Get an idea of what heavy feels like. Get an idea of what lightweight feels like. If you can't pick the whole hive up, and a lot of people can't. I'm 75. I can't now, not really. And then just pick up on the rear of the hive with one hand, just the rear, and start getting a baseline to what is heavy and what is not. Number 11, Brian Marshall, he wrote, have you had any experience with using mushroom fungi extract in your beekeeping health protocol? Nope. All right, number 12, Terry Mack wrote, I caught a late swarm the 3rd week of September in the swarm boxes. Transfer them to a frame nook. And a nook is a small colony of bees. A nook box, generally speaking, will hold 5 frames. They were queenless, and I installed a new queen. So far, they are working much. They are not working very much, and not using the sugar water on the top feeder. They are alive and well inside, but not working in this norm. Don't seem to be working. I've added honey frames and brood frames. Well, Terry, it sounds like you did the right thing. Observe your bees when the honey flow starts. When the honey flow gets in full swing, those bees will be flying in there like B-52 bombers, like they got somewhere to go. On the other hand, if there's generally speaking, not enough blooms flying, you'll see bees coming and going, but they'll be they won't be in a hurry. So, of course, the spring, it's just natural for the springtime for them to really get gung-ho. The trees, the grass, everything does better in the springtime. It's just nature, animals. So, it can be that they're just biding their time. But it sounds like you're doing everything correctly. Number 13. Does fuming the hive with oxalic acid vaporizer kill ants and hive beetles, or at least interrupt their life cycle? No. As far as I know, fumigating your hive with oxalic acid does not affect ants or the hive beetle. Joe Renta in Atlanta, with cooler weather coming, below what temperatures should I not open my hive? Should I inspect them if it warms up during the winter for any reason? Okay. Joe is asking, what temperature does it need to be to open up your hive? A lot of people, for some reason it comes natural for people to think that the hive should be sealed up on top, but it doesn't. You need ventilation. If you want to take the brood frames out and look at them, it needs to be 60 degrees or warmer before you do that. But in the wintertime, you need to check these bees before fall gets here, and be sure they have eggs and brood in summer, late summer really. And so when winter gets here, you wouldn't accomplish anything other than you wanting to see it. Goodness knows I've been there, but you won't accomplish anything by inspecting it for the sake of the bee, because if they were needed something, they needed a queen, you couldn't provide it. McGee, can I feed dried sugar in the winter, and why? Usually people, if you have a hive that is literally starving, they have almost zero food, honey in there, people will pour dried sugar in there, and they'll maybe put a piece of newspaper on top and pour dried sugar on it. But this is what the commercial people did years ago. But the best way to do that now, if you have a hive that's starving, get a 3/4 inch plywood like I told a while ago, and that feeder jar will be, adjacent to the cluster. They'd be right next to them. And that is better than pouring dried sugar in there. Enjoy your bees. That's the main thing. If you enjoy them, then you're going to take care of them. I'm going to tell you something that I bet 99.9% of you have never heard this. If you take bee pollen, and first of all, you don't need to chew bee pollen up, in my opinion. But if you take natural bee pollen and you're biting down on it and you feel some rocks, I bet you've never heard this. Those rocks are not bee pollen. They're propolis, and they're harder than rocks. Bee propolis is that's like finding bee propolis in pollen is like finding gold in a silver mine. Propolis is absolutely wonderful. Of course, I'm a beekeeper. I think royal jelly, propolis, bee pollen, and honey are wonderful. The good Lord made them for a reason. And if you were stranded on an island and you had nothing to eat but bee pollen and honey, you could survive. You'd be tired of it before the end of the day, but you could survive. Pollen has all the nutrients, vitamins, amino acids, hormones, and enzymes that your body needs, and it has it in the right proportion. Honey has all the simple and complex sugars that your body needs, plus it has 17% moisture. So your body has to consume moisture and all of these nutrients. So honeybee products are wonderful. And of course, this is shameless, but we have wonderful bee pollen. I take bee pollen and propolis and royal jelly every day, have for years. In closing here, communication or communicating is a great thing. It really is. It solves a lot of problems. And 52 years ago, my wife was changing our newborn baby, changing his diapers, and I told her, I said, well, I'll change the next one. And so it wasn't too long later, she said, okay, he needs his diaper changed, you change the next one. I said, no, I didn't mean the diaper, the next diaper. I meant the next baby. I was serious too. All right. All right, one more thing here. You probably don't know why baby diapers have brand names like Loves and Huggies and Pampers, while undergarments for the old folks are called Depends. Depends. Now, there's a reason for that. And when babies poop, you'll change your diapers with Love, okay? When old folks poop in their pants, it depends on who's in the wheel. That's kind of bad, but there might be a little kernel of truth to that. You know what I mean? All right. If y'all have any questions, let me know. And happy birthday to Mark Man, and everybody have a good day. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.